You know the drill. You're scrolling through your feed, minding your own business, and then an ad just stops you in your tracks. But what's that secret sauce? What really turns a casual scroll into a committed purchase? Well, today we're going to unpack the psychology of why we really buy on social media.
Now, really, think about it for a second. What was it last time for you? Was it a gorgeous photo, maybe a super funny video, or was it just all those 5-star reviews? What's that one thing that finally pushes you over the edge from just looking to actually buying? So most of us, and definitely a lot of marketers, would probably point to the things on the left, right? We think it's all about the excitement, the fun of the discovery, and of course, those glowing reviews. But a really fascinating new study suggests the real drivers might be a lot more, well, practical. It might really just boil down to usefulness and trust. And this gets us to what you could call the social shopping myth. We've kind of built up this whole idea that sales on social media are all about impulse and hype. But let's dig in and see what the actual data says. Okay, first, just so we're all on the same page, let's talk about what social commerce even is. This isn't just about seeing an ad on Instagram and then clicking over to a website. No. This is when the entire shopping experience, from the moment you see the product to the final checkout, happens right there inside the app. Think buying something directly from a TikTok video without ever leaving. And it's exactly this kind of in-app buying that has researchers getting really curious. The insights we're looking at today come from a 2025 paper in the International Journal of Data and Network Science. And what these researchers wanted to do was understand the psychology of social shoppers, but with a specific focus on the unique scene in Jordan. And to do this, they didn't just guess. They went out and they collected hard data. They surveyed 465 people, all of whom had actually bought things on social media platforms like Facebook. They wanted to get to the bottom of what truly mattered when it came time to decide to buy something. So this is basically their game plan. Now, I know, it looks a little complicated, but the idea is actually pretty simple. Over on the left, you've got the things they thought might influence a purchase. Hedonic values, that's just a fancy way of saying the fun and excitement factor. Utilitarian values, that's how useful the product is. And eWOM, which stands for electronic word of mouth, or basically online reviews. They wanted to see if these things lead to trust, and then, ultimately, to the big goal on the far right, your intention to buy. All those arrows, those are the connections they tested.
All right, so they crunched the numbers, and this is where it gets really interesting. What they found was genuinely surprising, and it kind of challenges some of the biggest beliefs we have about shopping on social media.
First up, the fun factor. You know, all that enjoyment and excitement you get from a cool ad? Well, it turns out it had no direct, measurable link to whether someone actually intended to buy something. For any stats folks out there, the p-value is 0.115. For the rest of us, that just means the connection was so weak it was basically random chance. So, yeah, an ad might be entertaining, but that fun, on its own, isn't what gets you to click buy. And here is shocker number 2. Even high-quality, glowing 5-star reviews did not directly lead to a purchase. The statistical link here was even weaker. This is a huge deal, you guys, because the entire online shopping world is kind of built on the idea that more 5-star reviews automatically means more sales. This study says, not so fast. It's not that simple. Which, of course, leads to the big question, right? If the thrill of the hunt and a wall of 5-star reviews aren't the direct drivers we thought they were, then what on earth is actually convincing people to buy things on these platforms? And that brings us to the real heroes of this story. The study found 2 very clear winners: the practical usefulness of a product and the absolute gatekeeper of the whole process, good old-fashioned trust. So, what was the single biggest factor pushing someone to buy? Usefulness. Plain and simple. The researchers found this really strong connection between how practical and useful a product was perceived to be and whether someone planned to buy it. In other words, people are buying things on social media that they think will actually solve a problem or fill a real need. It's about facts, not just fun. And this quote from the paper just sums it up perfectly. It's not about mindless, impulsive fun. The data shows that social commerce is driven by thoughtful purchase experiences. We're thinking, we're weighing our options, and we're looking for actual practical value. But hang on, what about those reviews? If they don't directly push us to buy, then what good are they? Well, this is where the most interesting character in this whole story comes onto the stage. And that character is trust. This slide right here solves the whole mystery. See, reviews do work, just not in the direct way we always thought. It's more of a 3-step dance. Step 1, you read some helpful, reliable reviews. Step 2. That social proof doesn't make you want the product more, it makes you trust the seller more. And then step 3, it's that feeling of trust in the vendor that gives you the confidence to finally make the purchase. Trust is the essential bridge between a good review and an actual sale. So just how well does this new model of utility plus trust actually work? Well, it's remarkably powerful. Altogether, these factors could explain over half, 54% to be exact, of a person's decision to buy. And let me tell you, in social science research, being able to explain that much of human behavior is a huge win.
So what does this all mean for us, for anyone who buys stuff online or sells stuff online? The big takeaway is that in the world of social commerce, trust isn't just a nice little bonus, it's everything. It's the entire foundation.
So for us shoppers, it means we should probably listen to that gut feeling. If a seller seems trustworthy and their product seems genuinely useful, that's a way better signal than just some flashy marketing. And for all the sellers out there, the lesson is crystal clear. Your reputation for being reliable and trustworthy is your single most powerful sales tool. Use your reviews to build that trust and focus your ads on the real practical benefits of what you're selling.
And that leaves us with one last big thought. In an online world that is just getting louder and more crowded every single day, this research suggests that maybe the most fundamental human question is still the most important one for business. How do you decide who to trust?